Hey, it's Shabes, and welcome to another expedition of the Anime Encyclopedia. Hope you guys having a good time, a good night, day, I don't know. Still gotta get used to having the webcam here, I guess. It'll be fun, though. Is this the second or third stream we're doing this with? I think it's the second. Howdy do, RPG freaks. I'm not gonna call you by IRL name if you don't want me to. Gonna be running you in the background. Hope all's good. Yeah, hope all's good with you too, man. How's it going, Greg? I'm going all right. Had to drive my dad's car home tonight because he was worried about the leak I have of the coolant and stuff. It's bad. So I have to deal with that after tomorrow. I have a funeral attending tomorrow. My grandma on my dad's side passed away. My dad's mom. Anyway, and not to make it a bummer or nothing. But yeah, so tonight we're doing the rest of the third edition, but I wanted to do, there really wasn't too much to this reading. It was pretty normal, I thought, which is good. That's what I like to see. So I wanted to read one of their articles because I feel like I'm a little behind on that chunk. So I want to talk about comedy. Well, their article about comedy. I should clarify. Let me put this here. Let me look up their article on comedy. Let me know if the mix is alright. I want you to be able to actually hear it, you know? Let me try to have the chat over here. You can call me by Aaron now. Thanks, Austin. Scrolling for their article on comedy. Yeah, those levels are good. Let me know. Let me do some reading first. Their article on comedy. I don't really know what it's about besides comedy. Haven't read it. I skipped these big I haven't read these big articles yet because I want to save them for stream. But sometimes that lends it. I'm not great as I mean, I don't know if I should read the like, you know what I mean? I don't know, it's good to see you, Ray of Truth. I'd have to. Anywho. Comedy. Let's read their article on comedy. Which is fairly long. A few minutes into the stream, yeah. So let's go for it. Sitcoms and funny animals have been popular since the days of early anime. The politically incorrect spectacle of a wife wrestling her love rival for possession of a feckless flirt in the world of power and women has cascaded down the generations and picking up new accretions and as fashions change to become the latest Tenchi Muyo clone. And the funny creatures of Monkey and the Crab and Animal Olympus have mutated into the cat girls and bunnies of shows like Mew Mew Power. So already I'm kind of interested in the titles they drop because I'm not as familiar with them. It's The World of Power and Women is this show from the 30s. I'm gonna pull that up. I need to this over, like, let me put this over here, the desktop. Chikano no Toonna no Yonaka. Never heard of it. That's pretty cool. No known prints of this film available. Rip. Lost film. Great. Is it just one film? Yeah, it's a short film. I guess it's sort of just like the earliest comedy they could find, I guess. And it's like, yeah, it's from the for the centuries, you know, of like of marital affairs, I suppose. Okay. And then the other one they cited, The Monkey and the Crab. They say, and the funny creatures of Monkey and the Crab and Animal Olympics have mutated into the catgirls and bunnies of shows like Mew Mew Power. Monkey and the Crab. Crab and the Monkey. Variants? Maybe there's an episode of Nihon Sekai Mukashi Banashi. If this is like a folktale. Yeah. If it's a Japanese folktale, and like there's over 1,000 Nihon Sekai. Manga Nihon, I'm sorry. Manga Nihon. Mixing the two up. Manga Nihon Mukashi Banashi. There might be an episode of this, I imagine. Yeah. That's interesting. Decent so far. Anime back when? How you doing? I recently watched Votoms. I liked the first half and some later bits, but I struggled with the last quarter. Maybe I'm harsh. I'm giving it a strong 6. Yeah, is what it is. It's just not for everybody, I suppose. I can understand kind of zoning out in the last quarter. I think I did too. I can't deny it. I mean, I can't get over how kind of strong aesthetically and iconic it is. So I ended up just kind of loving it regardless, even though I really wasn't paying attention for the last chunk, to be honest with you. Yeah, okay. Hard to define, but difficult to ignore. Comedy is an ingredient in many successful anime, especially those made for TV, where weary businessmen and kids escaping from homework go to relax. Comedy can transfer to anime as a straight stand-up routine or a sketch. Comedy can transfer to anime as a straight stand-up routine or a sketch. Those short segments in shows like My Neighbor Totoro or Hisashi Iguchi's Rent-A-Man segment, Kotobuki Goro Show. Through short segments and shorts. Okay, so they're kind of giving different examples there. I definitely zoned out in the last, yeah. Like when they get to the desert, basically, because it hits this really good high point at the end of the jungle segment, and then it's like, I guess the desert's decent too, but then they get like going to like space and stuff. And then the settings get kind of fuzzy. Rent-A-Man. Anime. The heck is Rent-A-Man? Oh, okay. Some kind of hentai, I suppose. Through short segments in shows like My Neighbor Totoro? Wait, Totoro? Oh, Tonari no Tokoro. Parodies of Jap. Really? That's interesting. Because I was confused when I was picturing Totoro, and I was like, "What?" This is the site that they link in the 3rd edition. This is why I've never used this site before. But that's kind of neat. I guess never heard this one, but it's very interesting selection, I guess. Short segments in shows like My Neighbor Totoro or Hisashi Iguchi's Rent-A-Man segment, Kotobuki Goro Show. However, it's more often given a narrative framework, however loose. Yeah. Anime has stolen some visual shorthand from manga and foreign cartoons. It's interesting. I'm not 100% sure if stolen is exactly the right word, when I imagine the reason they're doing that is, like, a lot of that language is coming from manga, but then they're just translating that manga right directly to the screen, right? Like, they're not doing a whole lot of, like, reinventing new visual language and stuff. It's like, oh, if the character has a sweat drop, then you put it on the anime. You know what I mean? And then that language is just commonly known in the crowd, I guess, and so they just kind of use that more often, even if there's no manga counterpart. I don't know if stolen's the right. It's weird. Stolen's a weird, kind of loaded word. It's a loaded word. I definitely saw it. Yeah. Anime has stolen some visual shorthand from manga and foreign cartoons. Extreme distortion of the features or the whole body to convey heightened emotion. It has taken this to extremes in the squashed down or super deformed art style known as SD. Super deformation can even arise in relatively serious anime like Fullmetal Alchemist, when characters in humorous moments temporarily switch into SD mode, see tropes and transformations. To some extent, comedy will always be a personal matter. We appreciate that instances of comical underwear loss in soft porn may leave fans of the genre quaking with mirth, although they do nothing for us. Yeah. It's a how often does that really happen too? Like, even fans of this particular of ecchi or hentai or whatever, when they say soft porn, I'm assuming they're meaning ecchi, like sexual humor and stuff like that. And I guess it's sort of just the sake of just kind of the thing about prose and stuff, and they don't really mean this, but it's sort of like the idea that these guys are quaking with mirth and kind of raffling up at this sort of stuff. I don't know. I feel like there's kind of like a mix of both. Well, it's more subdued, I guess. Like, I can kind of see it from their perspective, not from the Encyclopedia's perspective, but from a fan's perspective, that they're not like, I don't know how many fans actually bust a gut at that sort of thing. They're just sort of like, you know, and that's it. It can be just sort of like mildly humorous, and I can still be fine, and they still enjoy it. I don't know if I'm just sort of making a weak defense or anything like that. Although they do nothing for us. I get the point of this, of saying this is just so that there's subjectivity in comedy. Yes, comedy is subjective. If anime humor appears lowbrow or simple in the West, this is because complicated verbal humor is more difficult to translate, and often falls apart in the hands of translators and directors who are, quite properly, more concerned with amusing a Western high school audience than faithfully echoing ethnocentric gags. Yeah, I can see that, but that doesn't necessarily explain why. Like, does it explain why we don't license as many of those titles? Is that what they're trying to say? Like, they're not gonna license Shogun Roku Rakugo Shinju because, beyond the fact that it's not even really a comedy, the fact that like it's Rakugo and they're not gonna get it, or they're not going to bother translating it well, I suppose. If anime humor appears lowbrow or simple in the West, it's because complicated verbal humor is more difficult to translate. Are you just saying that it's there? It is there and you just don't know it? If it appears lowbrow or simple, it's because you're missing all this other stuff that's going over your head because it's lost in translation? Which is kind of a dig on translators in general, if I'm honest with you. I would say that I think a more charitable painting of this is more of the fact that like visual humor is clearly more universal. You know, like funny faces or physical humor, slapstick, things like that. That's a more universal language than anybody can kind of laugh at these sort of things, or funny noises, like kind of more guttural stuff. But that doesn't necessarily explain anime humor appearing lowbrow or simple in the West. Does it mean that they're saying that that's all we're getting? At least as of this writing, which I believe is at least 2006, 2005 or 6 is when they either wrote this or wrote this in 2015. Why hasn't Rakugo Shinju never gotten a Blu-ray? I think it's because it's Katakawa and they just not. It's too expensive. They're not bothering. I think that's why. Apparently, executives rushed the show to completion because the sponsor pulled out, hence the quality drop. Rushed the show to completion because the sponsor pulled out? Wait, for Rakugo? I'm not sure which one you're talking about. But yeah, it's a weird. I get the point that they're trying to make, but the direction that they're making it is strange. Like, if it appears lowbrow and simple, like, they're not necessarily explaining why anime does so many sexual humor or does these particular kinds of jokes. Although maybe you could make an argument that maybe they're doing these jokes because they know they're pitching to a more global audience that doesn't necessarily speak their language, so they're leaning more towards those jokes. That's interesting. That's an interesting possibility. But yeah. I don't 100% know if that's necessarily the right trend, if that's really the case, because then that would be implying that they've been making anime for a global audience for much longer, much longer than they have been at the moment. It's an interesting position. My suspicion of the kind of over-the-top, wacky, like facial humor, like why anime has such wacky faces or chibi designs and things like that, was actually going to be one of the follow-up videos to my slam dunk video, but the slam dunk video got taken down, so I'm taking more of a reprieve on that until it gets back up or I unlist it, or the whole thing kind of sails past me, and then I'm using it as an excuse basically because I'm kind of busy with this other stuff. But anyway, my idea was that my theory of sorts was basically that, like, it's a cost saving technique. It's actually really easy to draw a funny face, and you don't have to animate it that much. In fact, they do a lot of limited animation with that. Like, there's only there's usually not a lot of motion to these wacky faces. It's usually just the one face, or maybe like a cycling through a couple of faces very rapidly. They don't necessarily have to have an in-between to them, right? Or sometimes they do, and the animation can be really snappy and funny, and that's great. But by and large, in terms, like, especially the super deformed design that they refer to here, I don't know if they actually mention that it's a potentially cost-saving technique because it's easier to draw. Like, I say cost-saving technique in the way that's like it's time efficient, like it's actually faster to do. This specifically for Slam Dunk's case, where there's so many of these really hyper realistic designs that they have to do the rest of the show. If there's either 30 seconds, maybe like if you take an episode and you see how many seconds takes up of them doing the super deformed style, like that's how much that they can reduce the workload by like half potentially, because it's easier to animate or easier to draw. That's sort of an idea I've had, like as a thought that I wanted to get more. I haven't written the script or anything yet, but that was kind of where I was going with that idea. Anyway, I feel like there could be a more pragmatic reason behind that besides just like, ooh, I don't know. But it's not a bad point where they're like, it's because a lot of the other stuff that they're saying verbally as jokes is going over people's heads. Although you can tell that to Gintama, where it's kind of a balance of both visual and verbal comedy. I don't like the tsukomi and bokeh style of comedy in most anime. Yeah, I'd have to look more into those the particular terminology for that. I'd have to look more into that. Yeah, this is interesting. In the hands of translators and directors who are quite properly more concerned with amusing a Western high school audience than faithfully echoing ethnocentric gags. Comedy and profanity are two hot-button issues in anime translation. When faced with humor, some have taken Animego's lead in faithfully translating the original jokes in Urusei Yatsura, and then appending footnotes to explain them. Others have followed the route Viz Communications took with Ranma 1/2, replacing original. That's a really cool contrast using two Takahashi works. With Ranma 1/2, replacing original humor with new jokes designed to replace the effect on a new audience. So kind of what Zach Davison, I believe, endorses is sort of transforming the joke into something of your own. So that's still funny, but it's like funny in a similar way, and not something of like not being completely accurate. And that's interesting. I do think it's a case by case basis. I think it's like, I mean, if the joke's funny, you know what I mean? In the original, I mean, then why change it, right? Because I think the other approach, the Ranma approach, can go a little out of hand, when maybe it requires some Japanese code, like the translator. I'm not trying to paint translators as malicious inherently, of course, but like maybe there's an instance where a translator doesn't find a joke that funny, and there's no cultural. Maybe there's a little cultural thing, and they're using this as an excuse to be like, oh, it's because like. But what if it's just that they don't find it funny, and so they punch it up to something they think is funny, but a typical audience may not find that particular joke funny, but they would have found the original joke just as fine or funnier, right? It's sort of I think a counter argument to at least the Ranma one, but I do fully appreciate that sort of joke sometimes too, especially when like in anime specifically, when you can hear what they're saying in Japanese, and just because it's like that's clearly not what they said, you kind of know what they said anyway, because at least in my case, I've listened to enough Japanese like audibly that I know what they're saying, and it's okay with the sub say something a little funnier or something slightly different. That kind of makes it interesting. Like I've said about my in my buying anime video, that like just make the translation interesting, just make it accurate. Like it's good that it's accurate, but also like don't fucking bore me with fucking like it can't be helped again, you know what I mean, and other shit like that. I like shows that make great use of facial expressions and changes in animation for comedy, like Karaki. Yeah, me too. Doremi is huge for that. Doremi is fucking massive, like amazing. SD is sometimes a cost-saving measure, but a lot of people just love the aesthetic. No, exactly. Like it's actually a really effective comedy thing, and also I do think it is cost-effective. Tsukomi and Bokeh is a funny man and straight man. Joke is pointing out the absurdity. Yeah. Okay, I didn't know those particular. It didn't land with me, like the 2-man routine, which is kind of the big. That's really the major type of comedy in Gintama, and I hate it. Not a fan. That one's. I think nothing does it stronger than Gintama, and so anything else that kind of uses that comedy, maybe I don't notice as much, and I'm okay with. But god damn, Gintama, it's relentless. The only comedy anime that I'd give my top score is Golden Boy dub and Space Dandy dub. That's mostly because it's creative anthology nature. Yeah, I get that. Face cam back. Yeah, thank you, Sudi. Good to see you. Anyway, we're reading this article about comedy. We're reading the article in the 3rd edition Encyclopedia about comedy. And we're discussing, they were talking about how in Urusei Yatsura, Animego faithfully translated the jokes, and then in Ranma 1/2, Viz replaced original humor with new jokes to replicate the effect on a new audience, and just kind of weighing the pros and cons of that. I listen to enough Japanese that I don't need the subs when it's controversial stuff. Right. You know what I mean? There are also still those who take the route of Samurai Pizza Cats and ghost stories, dumping much of the original in favor of a new improvised script. Regardless of the attitude taken, all methods still depend on the ability of the translator or rewriter not only to recognize puns and gags in the first place, but also to comprehend them and convey them. Comedy is the most... Yeah, so they don't take a stance here, but they're just like, so long as it's done well. Like, that's it. Comedy is the most recognizable, pretty good... I would agree with that for the most part. It's a case-by-case basis. In this case with Samurai Pizza Cats and Ghost Stories, where it's like, it's almost an abridged in that case. I know Ninja Robots Tobikage is a show that we're releasing that the dub was almost completely lost to time, and we were able to completely reassemble it. That one is similar, and I think in some cases it does improve the material, because so long as you make the original material available. I think, like, in the case of Samurai Pizza Cats and Ghost Stories, those are dubs, and Ninja Robots, they're dubs, right? And so long as it's dubs of material that it's not cutting anything, like if it was Digimon, for example, I don't know if Digimon worked that way and it was like completely, which it's fairly transformative in its original language, but I think so long as you make the original available, I think it's totally fine. And obviously if you have permission to do that, of course. But like having a dub like that, if it warrants it, right? Samurai Pizza Cats is a comedy. Like, sure, that sounds like fun. Tobikage, it seems kind of run of the mill of a series. It doesn't have a sort of legendary status. It's kind of a just another, if like an isekai today had a dub like that, I think it could actually do a good job standing itself out. A dub like that could do a good job standing itself apart from the original. Although now people are so freaking allergic to that shit, it would not go well. If a modern isekai like that, there would be some fans that, or maybe it's like but even if it was like a show people hated and wanted to see that happen, and like where the kind of it like deserved, I don't know, like even if fans were okay with it in a non-protective way, a non-vitriolic way, I still don't know if it would go all that well, because then it's like the show that they don't like it, so whatever. Yeah, what was I thinking? LGH has some of my favorite comedy. Yeah, it's a good show. Oh, I love LGH. Not enough people bring it up when they talk about it. Oh yeah, because they make this super serious. It's a super serious sci-fi thing, but it's actually like really funny and has a lot of good roasts, and it's very human, and it covers the whole gambit, which is why it's literally anybody that like finishes the show and actually watches the whole thing, I do think ultimately comes to really enjoy it and comes to really like it, because you get it's a whole thing. It's such a dense show, and like, if you don't get into it for the first couple episodes, fine, go, do something else. You can enjoy your time. But, like, sticking with it and getting to having the whole thing, it's hard for me to see people actively disliking it in the same way. Not enough people bring it up in book. I feel on Gintama. I watched all of it and didn't like the comedy because it's either reference-based or okay, it was painful. The show somehow got worse when it became serious. Yeah. Like, I knew where it was. Once I saw where it was going with the loss, with the kind of innocence lost, and like, wish we could go back to those fun times. I think there was something really interesting there, and I wish I had that idea in mind. I wish I actually knew that's where it was going at the time. And I'm actually, the longer amount of time it's been since I've watched Gintama, the more I do look back on it fairly fondly, and I'm like, that was decent. But then, I did keep an entire diary on that. It probably wouldn't happen today, but I really liked how Milk-chan has 2 dubs. Yeah. Tomine Anime SP comedy. Yeah. But so far, the focus on this and the handling and approach, I think, is pretty even-handed, and I like the article so far. Comedy is the most recognizable place where DVD anime releases can have the most obvious divergence between dub titles and subtitles, as witnessed by Phil Hartman's extensive improvisations as Gigi the cat in Kiki's Delivery Service, filling many moments for which the character was completely silent in the original Japanese version. Comedies for children. Comedy is the most recognizable place where DVD anime releases can have the most obvious divergence. That was a weird sentence. Anyway. But no, I mean, that is, yeah, I don't remember. There are some anime I'm aware of that do that, where like the character doesn't talk too much in places, but they added the dialogue. Actually, a really significant part was, oh shit. It's in Nausicaa. Character's name is Asbo, and it's voiced by Shia LaBeouf in the Disney dub. And he has this. There's a scene where Nausicaa gives him some nuts, and he starts eating them, and he's like chewing them, and he kind of like grins and stuff like that. And in the sub, he just eats them and grins, and that's kind of it's a little moment and stuff, and it's nice. But that the dub, Shia LaBeouf added this line, or somebody added this line, where he's like, "Why does everything that's good for you taste so bad?" And it's a good joke, and she actually laughs at it. Like Nausicaa, like kind of like, instead of like laughing at like just him smiling and it's kind of a quirky moment, she kind of giggles a little bit. He actually cracks a joke, and she kind of like giggles like visually in the movie and stuff, and it's actually thematically really interesting and important to the whole the whole movie. Like in a joke, like, and that's like a great moment, and I was flabbergasted that it wasn't in the original Japanese. I had no idea, and finding that out, I was like, dude, you know. So man, that's something. I wanted to buy LGH, but it's out of print. What the fuck is Sentai doing? That's not Sentai. I guarantee you, it wasn't Sentai. It was the stipulation of the licensor. Dumb, but it's probably whatever. They probably have to wait another year, a couple years or something. I don't know. At least it's streaming. At least it's available streaming. Tomino, the slapping never stops. I love the ability by ad-lib by Phil Hartman. The uncut Disney dub for Kiki is my favorite anime. I'm not sorry. Yeah, that's awesome. Comedies for children are a staple of most countries' broadcast media, given TV's entrenched function as babysitter. Their formula for success is largely unchanging. They give their little viewers bright colors, simple shapes, repetition of sounds, and broad brush characterization, covering the daily routines of a small child's life with festivals, playtime, and food, all reinforcing simple moral messages about good behavior. Where's this going about comedy? They're just talking about kids shows at this point. Shows like Pee-Pee the Alien and Pinch and Punch didn't have much to offer adults, even in their 60s heyday. But the generation that grew up watching them went on to create Chibi Maruko-chan and Crayon Shin-chan, which both of them they don't like, by the way. They don't like Shin-chan, and I'm pretty sure they were very negative on Chibi Maruko-chan of just how, like, kind of vapid it was, I guess. Let me just double check their article on that. Spends most of her time daydreaming, particularly that she is a noble princess. Her parents are divorced, or both. Inexplicably talking like an old woman despite her tender years, she continually pesters her parents, elder sister, and relatives to answer questions, and amusing misunderstandings ensue. Momoko Sakura's 1986 manga, loaded with 70s nostalgia, was christened as a new Sazai-san by some Japanese critics for its gentle humanity and interminable run. Broadcast without subtitles on Californian channel, it's also adapted into a three-part live-action miniseries featuring the 8-year-old Ei Morisako in the lead role. It doesn't even mention the movie. It has the movie listed, and that movie's actually really good. Anyway. Yeah, my favorite song. Right. Yeah, they didn't see it. Who cares? So, of course, yeah, definitely talk to the experts. Listen to the experts who hate both the pretty much, I guess Anpan Man and Doraemon are more giants of children's television than Chibi Maruko-chan and Crayon Shin-chan, but, like, if you're going to make a Mount Rushmore, I would say it's Anpan Man, Doraemon, Chibi Maruko-chan, Crayon Shin-chan. Right? Am I missing any really notable ones that's like, you can't not put this one or something? I think it's Doraemon. I think it's Doraemon, Anpan Man, and those two. Anyway. How can someone hate Chibi Maruko? They haven't seen it. That's why. They've seen one episode and they're like, what the fuck is this? These two very different shows shared two important elements. They could be watched by small children, but they were made to appeal to an adult audience nostalgic for the simplicity of childhood. Crayon Shin-chan is a comedy as rude, crude, and broad as the mind of a little boy. Its hero's boundaries may be very tight, but he pushes them for all he's worth. Comedies for older children tend to follow the same pattern, taking a different viewpoint on the routines of everyday life. They may throw in someone who thinks differently from the rest of the world, as in genius idiot Bakuban, or an alien or magical MacGuffin like Doraemon, or for older boys his avatar Doraemon in Visionary, or an adult who doesn't know how to be a role model such as Dr. Slump. Let's break that down a little bit. So they kind of give a little blurb about Shin-chan, but they don't say anything about Chibi Maruko-chan. Pokemon. What year does this book go up to again? The third edition goes up to 2013. All right, yeah. I don't think it has any titles from 2014, basically. The third edition. The first edition, which I have a physical copy of, and I've been comparing to the third edition. This goes up to 2001. So it has some titles from 2001, like Spirited Away, Alien 9, Abenabashi, but that were announced as of 2000, that were coming up, but they didn't have any concrete, really relative information on them. And so a lot of the 2001 entries are completely revised because they hadn't come out yet. So that book came out in 2001, and yeah, basically hits up to year 2000. Comedies for older children tend to follow the same pattern of how rude and crude they are, like Shin-chan, I guess. His hero's boundaries may be very tight, but he pushes them for all he's worth. Okay. Taking a different viewpoint on the routines of every day. They may throw in someone who thinks differently from the rest of the world, or an alien MacGuffin, or an adult who doesn't know how to be a road along like slump. Okay. Seems like they're painting it in kind of broad strokes in my opinion, but sure. Everyday life is the starting point for the gentle observational humor of Sazai-san, Dotanba's modern manners, and my neighbors the Yamadas. The advent of video in the mid-1980s showed the potential of the niche market, with a slice-of-life comedy for 30-something cat lovers, What's Michael, being the first show to make the transit from a cautious video release to TV success. Yeah, it's I don't know if What's Michael's TV show has been subbed yet. I would be more interested in watching the series than I would be watching the movie, because I've seen the movie and I didn't really like it. I just thought it was kind of random and not that funny, not that artistically interesting, kind of vapid. I like the theme music, like kind of I like the kind of music video in the middle of it. That's like the best part, and you don't have to watch anything else, honestly, in my opinion. This in turn enabled TV shows, but the reason I bring that up is that I think the way that that OVA was formulated as being very skit heavy and sort of moving on to the next thing, episodically, it feels like that's probably better suited for television, right? If it's episodic, I imagine. Also, if it just developed more characters than just the cat. From what I remember. I mean, maybe there was other characters, but like nothing that stood out to me that I remember. This has in turn enabled TV shows like Modern Love's Silliness to target their specific audience, in this case adult women, in evening or late night slots. Everyday life can also be hell, and where there's pain, there is inevitably comedy. Japanese businessmen enduring the daily grind to support increasingly disengaged families could see the funny side of laughing salesmen. Yeah. I mean, it's dark comedy, but yeah. Families forced to share a home with a dotty, irritating, or downright malicious elder could let go of the tension with a good laugh at Mad Old Bag or Ultra Gran. I've never heard of those titles. Let's check them out. Mad Old Gran. Let's check that out. Mad Old... Oh, that's kind of an interesting cover. Got absolutely nothing into... It's a movie. It's a TV special. Interesting. That kind of seems interesting. I think I'm gonna write that down as a title I'm interested in. Obatarian. Mad Old Bag. Interesting. And the other one is Ultra Gran. That gives me absolutely nothing. It kind of looks like that one that I don't remember the name of it. Whatever. Based on something. Original creator Meme Akutagawa. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's just funny. Oop-a-doop. Okay. Okay. Interesting. Teenage boys facing the twin challenges of hormonal change and social inadequacy find solace in Ping Pong Club and High School Kimengumi. Boy, if they're watching High School Kimengumi, I'm interested in that one because it's the Shonen Jump title that actually really relates to what I was saying earlier about this this appeal of wacky anime faces, right? because you think about it, like, am I crazy or I'm just uncultured? But like, you know, I think the Looney Tunes probably were like that, like older cartoons. But wacky faces on the same scale as anime, I don't think is really prevalent in the United States as cartoons. Like, it's really mostly kind of about the writing, right? And there's some, I definitely think SpongeBob has like kind of the wacky faces going on. But it's not as much as the writing in that one either. I feel like that it, at least on the scale, you think about the scale of how incredibly prevalent and almost reliant on these big faces, and kind of not big, not like objective, but just sort of like, you know, how often the faces morph and change and everything. And I've been thinking that like High School Kamengami, which is literally like, it's a Shonen Jump title, and it's about like a group of, it's called the Funny Face Club, and like their whole thing is that they have funny faces. So it's like, that's literally it, you know? Like, that's the thing. Yeah, Kamengami, like, it feels like the kind of the two main it's the two main girls there, but like, it seems like it's a group of 5 boys. I forget the name. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't put the desktop on. It's like these 2 girls, right? 86 episodes. Find the kind of a visual of the anime, I think. Yeah, like, this is a great example of what I mean, where like the kind of appeal is how different their faces are and things like that. And so, I mean, I don't know, it's sort of like, it's interesting. I don't know, I feel like there's way more emphasis on this, on the face and the expressions, than a lot of Western stuff. And I think this really extends out to anime comedy in general, I think. Like, that's sort of it's a theory I have, I think. Just found out Keiko Nobumoto passed away. Yeah. I really want to rewatch Wolf's Rain now and just kind of like really hyper focus on the writing. Because, oh my gosh, I really did realize that it was just like, even before she passed, like, her name was going around, obviously, when the live action Bebop was happening. And realizing that she had also done Wolf's Rain, I was like, no wonder they felt so similar, and they felt similar. Not just because of the little share in the studio a little bit, because, you know, a lot of those Sunrise staff from Bebop moved over to, you know, and would wound up making Bones, which Wolf's Rain would be a very early title for them. Those 2 shows felt very similar now, and then like the writing in particular, right? So it's just like, oh my gosh. But we need to watch Ping Pong Club, yeah. I feel like there's a lot of that in internet humor too. Yeah, no, absolutely. Reaction humor and things like that. Even the way we want to emote all the time with emojis or reaction gifs and things like that. Devastating. Yeah, seriously. I think I'm almost at the... No, that's a High School Kamengami. Okay. Life and its problems are the great unifiers of comedy. Language and culture can be its great dividers. Westerners tend to think of Japan as a homogeneous society, but its regional variations of dialect and culture are as wide as those of Britain or France. As with most developed nations, these variations are eroded by the monoculture promoted on the small screen, but are still reflected in comedy. Japan has its Tokyo low-life comedy Fritten-kun, the Kansai equivalent Naniwa Spirit, and provincial biker hijinks in Yokohama's famous Katayama. All those sound interesting. I like that they're really name dropping a lot of obscure stuff. Like, that's really nice, but I don't know how much it really... I guess it leans into their point, makes their point a fair deal, I suppose. But like, maybe if they were describing certain instances or certain jokes from certain shows and things like that, maybe being more specific, I suppose. But I guess they can't be as specific here because they have to kind of be a little condensed and concise. The differences between the capital and the nation's second city, are pointed up in a host of comedies featuring Osaka's distinctive dialect and reputation for wisecracking and money-making, Jarenkochie and Compiler providing examples which are great fun but difficult to translate. History always has potential for humor. Ginagashi takes us back to pre-war Tokyo to watch amusing goings-on in a local bar. Ginagashi takes us back to pre-war Tokyo to watch amusing goings-on in a local bar, while Shinsengumi Farce takes the Mel Brooks approach to right-wing extremism. I don't know what that's supposed to be. Sure. That's sort of the unfortunate thing with some of these, is that it just feels too shallow. I just don't know exactly what you mean just by that one sentence. It's hard for like give an example, please. You know, foreign culture provides, like, instead of saying what it's like and giving it this broad stroke of Mel Brooks' approach to right-wing extremism, give one example. Just say, like, oh, like when in Sensungumi Farce, this happens. This potentially amusing thing happened. Like the thing that helps you describe what you're talking about, where it's like to watch, like, this thing. Ginagashi takes us back to pre-war Tokyo to watch the amusing goings-on in a local bar. I can visualize that. I can understand that. But this kind of like Mel Brooks' approach to right-wing extremism, like, yeah, I can kind of, I get what you mean. Tried to watch Wolf's Rain as a kid, but I found it too depressing. This does give me a reason to give it a second shot. I've yet to see Wolf's Rain. Oh man, great show. I love that. It was something else, man. It's just it has great music, really great designs, really kind of like barren and like dystopian kind of world. I liked its characters a good deal. Kind of the you don't really know where it's going in terms of its story and sort of like what is it trying to say and stuff like that. So if you're really relying on a plot and things, it's kind of like similar, like a little bit like Ergo Proxy in that way. It kind of feels like that way, where it's like, I don't really know where it was going, but I like it. You know, man, yeah. The Edie is one of the best of all time. Really underrated. Like, maybe it's not underrated. Maybe we're just overlooked. Okay, Alexander. I'm sorry. I'd say LGH isn't underrated so much as overlooked. And I'm like, yeah, okay. That's fair. Maybe it's because, yeah, it's weird how everyone who finishes it seems to really like it. Fancy. It's similar with Gintama, so I can't knock it. I've yet to see Wolf's Rain. Mesmer used satire in a lot of his films. Yeah. No knock, yeah, Alexander. It's a good time. It's good. Anyway, foreign culture provides even more opportunities to generate laughs. Japan, like every other culture, is not about poking fun at foreigners in shows such as the Chocolate Panic Picture Show. Japan, like every other culture, is not above poking fun at foreigners in shows like the Chocolate Panic Picture Show. I don't know why they chose Chocolate Panic Picture Show. They just, like, I don't know. They maybe, okay. I thought they really hated that one. They're like, abhorrently racist. It's like, okay. Why use it as an example then? Japanese attitudes can also lead to unintentional humor. A recurring problem in translating anime comes from the presence of ideas and names that can jolt an audience out of its suspension of disbelief. Characters named after car models or rock bands, for example, in Rayeth and Bastard. Or like Jojo Stands. Japanese attitudes can also lead to unintentional humor. Is it really unintentional? When you name a character in a particular way, is it really unintentional? It's a problem in translating anime with the presence of ideas and names that can jolt an audience out of its suspension of disbelief, or it just adds to the experience. It's sort of interesting, and it's kind of fun and tongue-in-cheek and stuff. Like, okay. Other modes of inadvertent humor inside issue from Japan's attempts to imitate Western genres. Mad Bull 34 is not intended as comedy. It isn't? Wait. I've only seen one episode of Mad Bull 34. That's definitely a comedy. That's definitely just trying to be like, ha ha, and not. It's not like trying to be fucking, not like really hard, like the Golgo or something. Like what? Huh? Mad Bull is not intended as comedy? I can't wait for that article, I guess. If you really thought it was not supposed to be. Maybe the author said that? I don't know. But is only really enjoyable to a non-Japanese audience as a comedy. And because it is, if I find a comedy not like, if I say that if I say Gintama is not supposed to be a comedy, and it's not intended as a comedy, but it's only really enjoyable to non-Japanese audiences as a comedy, I'm like, wait, huh? I'm sorry. I do think LGH requires commitment. It can be pretty boring to watch at times. Oh, sure. I haven't been able to really fully commit to a rewatch myself, honestly. Monkey and the Crabs is kind of keto. I'm behind, by the way. That's okay, Cozy. In JoJo's, it's different. It definitely adds to the experience. Exactly. I haven't read it, but like maybe not as like a joke, but like, why is that like a bad? Like, why do they like a reoccurring problem? You know. I haven't read, maybe for copyright. I think it's a problem for copyright because they can't. It creates tension where they can't call Foo Fighters. They have to call them FF or something. I haven't read it, but I have heard that Mad Bull manga is actually serious like the author's other work. Oh, interesting. Okay, fair. That's fair then. But like, I know maybe I also haven't seen the other episodes, but I could have sworn like there's a scene where he like removes the main guy removes his trousers and he has a bunch of grenades as a jockstrap. How is it supposed to be taken seriously? It's a comedy. That's literally a joke. How is that not a joke? Am I anyway? Okay. And ultimately the joke may be on the American stories the Japanese have so outrageously misread. Okay. Other abuses of foreign entertainment are unintentionally humorous. The X-Files influence on geo-breeders, for example, or the gloriously inappropriate use of Beethoven in Dragon Half. Sure. Even if all other springs of laughter dry up, anime has one rich source to mine: itself. Anime parodying anime has its own short-form term, aniparo. Has its own short-form term? Have you guys ever heard of that? Aniparo? Which originated in fanzine culture to describe amateur comics spoofing favorite shows. And that's why we don't hear it anymore, I guess. But like that technically still happens, where like we make all these jokes and stuff, like meme culture on the internet with media, I guess. Like, is that Aniparo? Like, okay. But it can also be applied to professional spoofs like the super deformed Gundam spoofs and the cute body Devilman pastiches. I was just thinking maybe they were trying to avoid terms like otaku, hentai, senpai, and all these other like fan like Japanese kind of terms, in part because they were worried that people have multiple meanings and there's a loss of meaning to some of these, or they change meaning, or maybe they don't really specify this as a reason. But maybe the reason is they think like it's going to date the Encyclopedia, maybe, because that certainly dates it. I've never heard of Aniparo, or maybe that's a Japanese thing mostly. I don't know, but that could be a potential explanation. I wouldn't argue against that. Like, that's fair, actually. It would be saying like, it'd be like putting like old internet humor, like 2009 era slang in an encyclopedia. It'd be very similar. It'd be like, oh, that's cringe. Which like, when I say cringe, right, maybe saying, but cringe is a word anyway. Interesting. No, I tried to read it once and see if the anime was a bad adaptation, but if anything, the anime tones it down. What the hell? I think they are talking about the producers. Yeah, no, I get Witch form with Mel Brooks and stuff, but I'm just sort of like, I don't know how that relates to that particular anime, right? Because they don't describe what that. Maybe I just click on that anime and then just find out, but, you know. But can also be applied to professional spoofs like the super deformed Gundam spoofs and the cute body Devilman pastiches. Shows like Irresponsible Captain Tylor, Airbats, and Sign of the Otaku all follow Otaku no Video in offering up every convention of anime, story tropes, production methods, respected creations, and creators as targets for mirth. Tylor? Really? Like, it certainly knows what genre it is, and it's playing upon audience expectations, but like in terms of being like doing anime references in Tylor, are they like maybe they were kind of like imitating the wave motion canon in Yamato or something at one point. I don't even remember them doing that. Huh? Like it is funny, but like it kind of subverts expectations, but just in a general way, not like in a, oh man, you should definitely watch all these other anime before watching Tylor. I'd never say that about Tylor. That's so weird. I don't know. Whatever. Well, that's the article about comedy. Pretty good. I liked it. I would say the approach was certainly decent and even-handed. I'm not trying to make a big judgment on something. Although, there were certainly some particular choices that were weird. But I did appreciate this time the use of referencing a ton and listing like this type of thing. Yeah, Tyler's an LGH parody. Not a good one if you ask me, if that's the case. If it's really supposed to be an LGH parody, I don't know about that. That's a missed opportunity if that's the case. At least to me. Okay. That was about an hour. That was exactly an hour. At least on my streaming time. I did start like 5 minutes. Okay. So, let's get into the notes. Which there's no comparisons this particular time. That's okay. So we're gonna do opinions first. I haven't done these numbers are still off. I'm bad at this. But I'll do an updated number thing at the end with because I'm done with C, so I have to update all this. Anyhow, it even has classical compositions playing during the space bar. Like, yeah, but like that's not parodying that though. It's actually making good use of classical compositions like LGH, but it's not like a parody, you know? I don't know. Although I do think the climactic, one of the very last space battles, like the way that one plays out is very LOGH inspired maybe, and kind of like, what if they just did this? Like, that's kind of funny, but meh. Close of the Last... Alright, so these are positive reviews that I think that they thought they liked these. Close the Last Door. They thought it was lighthearted and not too hard. It was like a porn thing, I guess. Code Geass they were positive about. Man, they liked Code Geass. It's the kind of show that to get history geeks cheering. Calculated brilliance like Clanad. And we particularly like Japan's fears about colonization by real-world USA are dispatched into fictional Britain. They liked it because it's like, haha, they say it's Britannia, but it's clearly nothing to... It doesn't resemble any Britain that we're familiar with, but it's more like America. Haha, love that. Yeah, America bad guys. Haha. Okay. Let me read this. I'm not gonna read the synopsis. It sounds perfectly fine. Of course, they completely ignore how, like, you know, how Lelouch is also in school this whole time, and so like when he's in the middle of these negotiations and like he's in a like almost in a very tense situation where he's trapped in this mech, I will never stop bringing this up. The fact that like he's in this tense situation and then he gets a phone call and it's from his vice president, like, you gotta get ready for the school festival. It's like, oh, you really want me to take this seriously? Oh. Yeah. Let me Okay. Here's their review of sorts. Code Geass is the kind of show to get history geeks, history geeks, people who usually drone on about Legend of the Galactic heroes, standing on their seats and cheering. Really? Really? I mean, really, I think it's interesting. I'm one of the few people that watched LGH before Code Geass, because Geass has become really of an entry point for a lot of people, and it wasn't so much for me at the time. I had heard of it, certainly, but I ended up just kind of gravitating to LGH first. And I watched LGH and Gundam, like the original Mobile Suit Gundam, before watching Geass. And man, it's kind of a joke in comparison to those two shows. History geeks, I'm not much of a history geek. It's just more of a good storytelling geek. I'm sorry. I don't want this to be about like, oh, I disagree with them, therefore bad, or anything like that. It's certainly not that. Give me this one. I want to have this one, if only. I'm trying not to it's not about so much of me disagreeing with their opinions as it is of just like how are they framing this. They're like, oh, LGH fans would love Code Geass. It's like, and also that's a great sign that they go, who usually drone on about Legend of the Galactic heroes. Oh, great. Oh, that's great. Can't wait for you to talk about that one. Sheesh. That comment is funny because all the LGH fans I know think Geass is significantly dumber. Yeah. That's what I was asking. Like, do you know anybody who saw LGH first, watch Geass, and be like, let's go! Like, what? No! Nobody thinks that. No, I mean, you know what? Gianni, subtitle anime, has seen Geass before LGH, but loves LGH and loves Code Geass a lot. Loves Code Geass a heck of a lot, and still loves it after seeing all of LGH. So, like, I'm not saying you can't love both of them, but just feel like the image of like people who are just very stuffy and like, oh no, Legend of the Galactic heroes, Code Geass, yeah, because like they're not mentioning like all the silly school shenanigans and things like that. Created by Ichiro Okuchi and Goro Taniguchi at the TV hit factory Sunrise, it was designed and honed for success with the same calculated brilliance that Kyoto Animation brought to Clanad. It's that same, like, it's so good, it must be yeah, maybe they know their audience, like, maybe give credit to the great, I don't know. It just seems like a kind of a backhanded compliment, like a cynical way of looking at it, to me. I'm now curious if they watched LGH. I am too. I think they probably saw 100 episodes and were like, yeah, I'll check out one. I'll check out the movie. Yeah. I don't even know if I was fully subtitled at the time. So, like, how could they, right? I don't know. Both character design team Clamp and animators Sunrise have a solid track record in manipulating a huge cast of characters for maximum audience appeal. This is a weird one. Maximum audience appeal, spinning attractive and beautifully dressed avatars with highly colored lives impacted by very real problems. If you don't identify with someone in this alternate reality, and they emphasize someone with like italics, if you don't identify with someone in this alternate reality, despite their fancy clothes and arcane names, yours is a very unusual reality indeed. Really? If I don't identify with someone, it's a mecha series. It's very similar to a lot of anime where like they have this huge cast of characters and there's a lot of variety in the characterizations. But like the human experience is so vast, It's perfectly fine to not relate to somebody. I don't think if I had to pick someone I was related to in Zabungle, for example, I guess I could find somebody that I'm kind of like, or that I gravitate towards, or Ideon. There's a huge cast in that one too, right? Or Gundam. Or LGH. Oh my god, LGH is huge. Huge! Way huger than Geass. Are you kidding? No. They're the ones that started this with bringing in LGH into this article, okay? They're the ones. I can make the comparison if they're going to make the comparison. It has the same, since it has, oh, sorry. They should have compared Geass to Full Metal Panic if they're going to bring up KyoAni, since it has the same balance of wacky school comedy and serious political drama. I like Geass, but it's much more comparable with Full Metal Panic than LGH. I identify with Table Coon. Yeah, right? Yeah. Weird. The concepts that work so well in those stories, old, rich, powerful figures manipulating the world from their shadowy eminesces, while the poor, the disposed, and the young suffer until a hero arises to lead them, brothers and friends parted by loyalty, is an ancient and powerful narrative, derived from sources that were old when Homer filched from them for the tale of Achilles in his Iliad. Code Geass shows that the old tunes can sound very good on a fancy new fiddle. You're really comparing Code Geass to the Iliad, huh? Sheesh! Very high praise. Concepts that work so well in those stories, old, rich, powerful figures manipulating the world from their shadowy eminences while the poor, the disposed, and the young suffer until a hero arises to lead them. Brothers and friends parted by loyalty is an ancient and powerful narrative, derived from sources that were old when Homer filched from them for the tale of Achilles in his Iliad. All right. We particularly I like this insight. This is insight that I'm interested in. We particularly like the fact that they put themselves in the actual article, right? We particularly like the clever way Japan's fears and resentments about colonization by the real-world USA are displaced onto colonization by a fictional Britain, although it bears little resemblance to any Britain we know. Indeed, the Britannian Empire specifically excludes the British Isles, which in the internal politics of the story have been subsumed within the European Union. Perhaps here's the interesting. I've never really, I can see it. I can definitely see it, but it doesn't have as much of an emphasis nowadays, I don't think, which is interesting. It's a good times capsule in that way. Perhaps the greatest asset of Code Geass is its attraction for female viewers compared to Escaflowne, who gravitate to its tortured pretty boys, heroic posers, and powerful females like fangirls to Ouran High School Host Club. Okay. I should love this show if they're relating it to 2 of my top 10. All right. Who gravitate to its tortured pretty boys, heroic posers, and powerful females like fangirls to Ouran High School Host Club. Powerful females. Wow. High praise. Like fangirls to Ouran High School Host. Is Geass comparable to Ouran in the girls like this kind of show? I guess it can't deny it has a female fan base for sure. Especially the art that's in the EDs a lot of the time, very attractive and kind of on a surf, really kind of emphasizing how hot the boys are and stuff like that. But Ouran, levels of Ouran, I mean, that's new to me personally. Fun fact, the author of LGH also wrote Arslan. Yeah, I'm aware. He also wrote Titania, which is an interesting comparison where you look at the anime adaptation of that. Really good Trixie video on that. Ever think of giving Geass another chance? No. I'm pretty sure it's so fresh in my memory at this point. It's even now. There's not a lot of anime that can get fresh in my memory still. I don't know. I don't think it could do anything. I could rewatch it because I would have still seen Gundam and LGH before Geass. And so if I watch Geass again, that's still the case. Like, is there anything I'm gonna is there anything I could watch that when I go back to Geass, I'm like, oh, this is actually really good. You know what I mean? Is there anything like that? Like, oh wow, this is actually really good. I don't know. I would rather rewatch Death Note or another, like a lot of other shows before Geass. I don't see the use personally. I mean, Clamp did do the character designs for Geass, so that might help attract a female audience. Right. Like that could make sense. Yeah. This does not detract in the slightest from its action credentials, but it does I can't remember a single damn thing from its action. I don't feel like you watch Geass for the action. I feel like the strongest thing with Geass was certainly the intrigue and sort of the plot twists and things like that, which even that was sort of like, okay. Okay, it felt like that, but it does lead to an additional dimension to its tangled plot lines and arcane politics in an era where foreign anime fandom has more or less achieved gender parity. All those who used to say you couldn't get girls invested in overly political overthought. This is interesting. All those who used to say you couldn't get girls interested in overtly political, overthought plot lines have long since been buried under an avalanche of fanfic and convention lectures on the politics of Hetalia, victims of a failure to evolve to the point where they could realize that the audience that loves Dorothy Dunnett's immense historical sagas and matches the boy buyer's copy for copy on Game of Thrones is going to devour a show that gives them more of the same in anime form. So, like, LOGH. There's a huge female fandom of LOGH. They're obviously the way better fans to be around, in my opinion, because they're way more wholesome. They're way more, like, they take it well and serious. They're not being hoity-toity about it. I genuinely find that, like, the female side of people who love LGH and stuff and have their thoughts and observations about it, I find that to be much more interesting and tolerable and like fun to interact with. And seeing all the fan art of LGH that's out and kind of the new fans that it garners over time, it's a very similar show. And here they are, like, they're kind of just like, they draw the boys, the people who usually, I don't say boys, history geeks, people who usually drone on about Legend of the Galactic Heroes. Sure. You know what I mean? It's just strange. Anyway, they just keep going on about, that's really the extent of their opinions. Me and my girlfriends did talk a lot about Geass back in the day, but not nearly as much as Oron. Right, like, it's apples, like, it's paltry, I guess, in comparison. Geass is so fun. It's bombastic and has attitude. Also great production values for the time. Yeah, and a lot of shows do. I mean, bombastic and has attitude. I mean, that's why I watch anime, right? I think a lot of them have that. I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of anime I would rewatch or get to finally watching over Geass, I think. Yeah, that's just my thing. I hope I'm not turn off in terms of how negative I am about Geass or anything like that. Again, let me just have this one. Try to have this one. But yeah, I think it's a very good. I like that they're being positive. I always like when they're positive. I'm refreshed, honestly. But like I cannot, like, this is the one that I'll happily poke a little at for them liking it personally. But I'll insist that, like, I can't, like, my dislike of the show absolutely doesn't completely dwarfs the success that it has and the influence it's made on anime as a whole. So it's like, cool, by all means, I'm great. That's awesome. It also got a lot of people into anime and stuff. So, like, by all means. Quiescent, they were positive on. Pacey, involving, and enjoyable entertainment. It's a little gem. No, it's a little gem. Yeah, I like that. That's good. Colorful, the motion picture, a breakout film for Keiichi Hara, quintessential slice of life. Let me read that one a little. I'm not gonna read the whole thing. I'm not gonna spend too long on this one. It's already been 8 hours. I spent a lot on Geass. I'm sorry. I'm just making sure I quintessential. I'm just trying to find like where they say quintessential. Oh yeah, here it is. However, despite its musings on the nature of reincarnation and fate, it is far more involved with the nature of modern living, and might be better regarded as a quintessential everyday anime, dwelling with a hyper-real sense of wonder on seemingly mundane occasions like a family dinner or two friends out shopping. So like this is actually a show that they a slice of life that they actually like, but it's not the one that I this one, Cross Game. I'm gonna talk about Cross Game later. I'm like, oh, I see. A better understanding of their taste, basically. But this right here that I wanted to highlight in particular, this is a breakout film for Keiichi Hara, who had previously spent more than a decade directing the gross-out comedy of Crayon Shin-chan. So they paint the movie colorful as an escape. He finally stopped making those shitty Crayon Shin-chan movies, as if the Crayon Shin-chan movies were themselves shitty, which they're not. At least I've seen one of them that is one of the best animated movies I've ever seen. He's not a bad director. And therefore, it's like, how, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm sorry if that was loud. Like, maybe check out his movies. Maybe he's actually just a good director. It's a breakout film for him. Really? Fucking. I wonder if he's done more. I'd be interested in that. Okay. I'm like, okay. I wasn't hearing the music all that much. I was like, it got really quiet all of a sudden. Cook and Idol they were positive about. Slice of Sweetness redresses a balance of clunkers. I was trying to like condense what they were trying to say here. Cook and Idol. I kind of want to. Sorry if I keep really diving deep into every one of these entries, I guess. Cool. Cook and Idol. Yeah, nothing will expunge Crystal Triangle from director Watanabe's CV or portfolio, I guess. But everyone gets a few clunkers in their career, and this slice of sweetness goes a surprisingly long way towards redressing the balance, along with his work on Video Girl Eye. It's also an interesting reflection on the worldwide popularity of cooking shows, an enduring theme in anime. Okay, yeah, that sounds interesting. That's Cooking Idol I My Main, by the way. Count and Fairy they were positive about. Prettily designed and animated. Faves of Victorian will still find plenty to enjoy. Like, fans of Gosek and Victorian era of Emma, for example. Coyote Ragtime Show they were positive about. They thought it was chaotic but interesting. There's some strong designs and it's entertaining. Yeah. Crazy Family Diary they were positive about. Silly but sweet animation. Alright. Croisset and a Labyrinth. This is a really positive review. Slow, quiet, and gentle, but beautifully designed and enjoyable. They just have like, enjoy, as like the last little sentence in that article. Kind of nice. They were damn time, man. They were nice about that one. I tried watching Geass on Swim back in the day, but gave up on it. Because Adult Swim kept changing the time slot every other week. Oh, rip. I walked into my brother watching It's Not Like I'll Command You to Kill All the Japanese scene, and I laughed so hard. I've been scared to try Geass ever since. I'll try it one day. Yeah, that's one of the stupidly hilarious moments in that show. But there's more. Oh, there's a couple more. There's plenty more where that came from. It's like Shinkan killed these people's family or something. I know. So dismissive. At least they liked Video Girl. Oh, they love Video Girl Eye. Oh, they love that one. They keep referencing it all the time of like, this isn't as good as Video Girl Eye, by the way. All the time. Love that one. Cross Game we're very positive about. A rare treat. Let me say what a rare treat this was for them. Cross game. Cross game. I'm really interested in their other articles about Adachi works because they were very positive about Adachi in particular here. Cross. Scrolled past it. Here we go. Like, they were really positive about Adachi in particular here. School friendships, family ties, passion for sport, ordinary suburban life. These are the basic ingredients for which legendary manga creator Mitsuru Adachi has been making magic since 1970, when he was just 19. Touch, Slow Step, and many more show his ability to handle plot, character, and pace with subtlety and grace. His animators have sensibly presented his stories with minimal adjustments. I get what they're trying to do, but that's a little weird. Just a little weird wording. As if, like, Adachi is directing the anime adaptations. I don't think he is. Is he? At least cross-game? No, he's a manga author. You're not gonna credit the actual director or like his animators? I don't know. Maybe like the people who are animating his stories. Okay. It's just a weird wording to me. His animators have sensibly presented his stories with minimal adjustments, because when something works as well as an Adachi plot, you let it do its job. Can say that about Mix. Yeah. Like, let it do its job, but also finish the whole thing. Actually finish the adaptation, because then, like, if you left Touch in the middle of the anime, it wouldn't do shit. You know what I mean? Like, you kind of have to adapt the whole thing if you're gonna adapt the Adachi work. That's the rub, okay? In my opinion. Sekita and his writing team produce it. There we go. So, like, I actually credit the Sekita, the director there. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. I'm about to watch Touch. Let's go. Have fun. Don't get spoiled. The director of Code Geass also worked on Scryad in the One Piece pilot. He's going to be directing the new One Piece movie. Yeah, Gore is a huge director. And Geass is a big reason for that. They spoil cross game here, which is like cool. Like, they literally go, like, they're describing the premise, and then it says, then tragedy strikes and their lives are changed forever. But just how far that change goes won't be clear for some time. And then I'm like, wow, they didn't spoil it. I've been spoiled to cross game. I've not seen it yet, but I was spoiled to it. And then later on, they'd be like, produce a tear-jerking surprise in... I'm like, what the fuck? You were so close! Like, yeah, it's episode 1, but, like, no! No! Why? Whatever. The writing is of the highest quality. Spoilery. Ugh, whatever. The animation is simple, and elements of crowd scenes and backgrounds are sometimes quite clumsily drawn. But the brilliantly edited animation of baseball games reveals Adachi's absolute devotion to the sport. This isn't really a story about baseball, but the baseball is handled with as much care and finesse as the story, and it makes for a rare treat. A genuinely moving, intelligent, watchable series about how very extraordinary everyday life can be. So they just find watchable slice of life, genuinely moving slice of life, genuinely intelligent slice of life, rare. That just says it right there, man. I can't wait. Like, every single time they bring up this genre, they link to their paragraph of their article of everyday anime. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to get to that one. What the hell do they have to say to that? Because it's like, geez Louise, what the hell do you want? It's something else, man. Anyway, so they liked that one. That was great. Negative. Yeah, so they're the positive ones. I've showed them enough. Negative reviews. Cleavage. Predictable dross. Okay. I kind of want to look up what dross means. Hold on. Dross. Something regarded as worthless. Rubbish. I actually did look that up first because I was like, predictable dross. I was like, is that negative sentiment? I don't know because I don't know this word. Anyway. Kopihan. Stereotypical, and did I write that down at the bottom? Dross. Dross. Yeah. I'll make fun of their advanced... I'm not going to try to make fun of them in the same way, but I'm just like... You're going to do these, you know, ignore all this stuff and then... Not ignore, I guess, but completely obfuscate and not avoid these terms, but then use a bunch of like fancy language that the reader has to look up to know what you mean. Kopihan. Stereotypical characters with forced humor. Lack of writer director might explain explain that it looks pretty but does nothing much. Okay. La Korodoko, they call it competent? Oh, I think this is a mixed one. This is a mixed opinion. Korda, yeah. Corpse Princess. Yeah, that was a slow start. Moves at a gallop with too little time for anything but girl warrior action. Yeah, they we're kind of disappointed at that one. Cube, Cursed, and Curious. Aimless meanderings of a plot that can't decide whether to stay pervy harem comedy, wander to dark territory, or dash back to boobs. Adequate but not outstanding animation. I didn't like that one. Hello, Anne. Not sure what you mean by that, but good to see you. These are mixed opinions. Okay, see what I mean? I flew through that. Not much. That's why I'm okay with padding it out with some of this other stuff, talking about Geass and such. Cluster Edge. Fascinating concepts and pretty designs. Poor execution. There's a better second half in the finale, but it's a little too late. That's too bad. Mission E, or Code E. You thought it was an inoffensive high school comedy? Okay. Co-ed affairs. It's an interesting concept, almost as amateur as the subject matter. La Corda Dora. That was definitely more negative than positive than you know, but I still figure it was fairly on the fence. La Corda Dora, they just said it was competent, which is an opinion, but like, could be one way or another, backhanded or something. Sea for money of power and control. Story is predictable, character development is limited, but the fights are amazing. They have very high concept, but like, just didn't really work for them. I just watched Cool Couple and liked it. Some of the animation and facial expressions would stand out, and I read the first chapter, and it's already a little different. Interesting. Yeah. Cyber Fantasy Flowers. Unusual for porn in that it has a story involving something other than sex. Art is also unusual, often strikingly ugly. I was like, oh, jeez. Look at that last part at the end. Then Sidebuster. This is one of the stragglers to imitate Ava. Still, again, kind of an opinion, but not really leaning one way or the other in the same way. Yeah. Let's see. Portia. There's some really short articles, and this was weird. Actually, yeah. I don't remember if I put this as an odd choice. It's more of a mistake, really. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There it is. Okay, I'll go in that in a second. So the spoilers, yeah, just for cross game. They're doing much better in spoilers nowadays, I guess. At least in this reading, they were so close. They literally had the wording right there. They didn't have to spoil it. They were really that close, and then they did anyway. It's unreal. Worked. Hello, Eleanor. All right. Some odd choices. Okay. Let's talk about some little positive things. Tiles I'm interested in. Koi scent. Let's look at some of these. Is this it? I think this is it. Koi Sento? Yeah, Koi scent right there. Yeah, that sounded interesting. It's only 25 minutes too. Kind of middling Mal reviews, but yeah, sure. Seems interesting. I just like their article on it. Made it sound interesting. Croze in a foreign labyrinth. Yeah, this is it. Yeah, it's certainly not something I'd look at in first glance, but they were really positive about this one. Huh. Let me look that one. Let me find their Croy. Paris in the second half of the 19th century, a city of dreams, excitement, and romance, with a passion for all things Japanese. Japan had only recently opened its borders to the outside world when everyone interested in art, literature, and fashion was interested in Japan. Travelers had already begun to come home with fascinating souvenirs. Most were not nearly so fascinating as Yune, the 13-year-old Japanese girl sponsored by elderly businessman Oscar to come and live with his family in the capital city of France. Yune is to live and work with his grandson, Claude, who is trying to keep his father's failing business alive. Like Aria, this anime adapted from Hinata Takeda's 2006 manga is slow, quiet, and gentle in terms of pace and character development, but beautifully designed and enjoyable. And like, a little bit of that maybe be like, wait a minute, like, so you're saying Aria isn't? It's like, except they would have said except, but maybe I don't know why they use the word but, right? Like, why use, like, is it not usual that a series is slow, quiet, and gentle in terms of pace and character development, but it's beautifully designed and enjoyable? That made, like, if it says like Aria, it's like Aria the animation or whatever. So that made me think that the way that I read that sentence, I was like, wait, are you saying that Aria isn't beautifully designed and enjoyable? Huh? I don't know. Not in so expressed words, basically. It was just kind of a strange... It caught my eye, basically. Paris is so well depicted, it makes you want to steal a passing time machine. The fascination of the new that drew Yune to venture thousands of miles overseas with a virtual stranger is replicated in the people she meets, who view her as a curiosity at first, but are gradually won over by her innocence and goodwill. This is like an invitation to the daintiest of afternoon teas. The setting, the music, even the exotic treats are in the sweetest of taste. Enjoy. I really like this one. Like, that was cute. So I'm really interested in this one, honestly. I don't want to play the OP, unfortunately, because it's, you know. I got in trouble last time. Obitarian Mandelbeck. Yeah, which I showed the Wikipedia of last time. Yeah. Let's go up to odd choices. No, like major good ones or anything like that. Not like huge anything else there. And again, not too many odd choices in this one. This was a very uneventful reading, which I'm okay with. I'm very okay with. They were all good entries. So honestly, they were like, this sounds interesting, and nothing really stuck my eyebrow out or seemed outrageous or anything like that. It seemed good. Comedic Angel Yumi. Comedic Angel Yui. There's 2 entries on the same show in the 3rd edition. And this is just kind of like a oops, and not like a, not something I can get like raged about. I think it's just kind of an interesting mishap. I mean, I don't know if this was just in the digital edition of the third edition, or if it's also in the print version. Let me find Comedic Angel. And the thing is, right, these 2 articles, these 2 entries are sandwiching their article on comedy, I believe. Yeah. Because, like, here's Comedic Angel Yui from 2... Let me give... Like, usually I don't like giving out the, like, showing off the encyclopedia. Because I don't want to, like, you know... I want to try to adhere to fair use. But let me first get this up, okay? Also to show you the difference here. So here's Comedic Angel Yui, which let's give a visual for. Thanks, that's what I want. Comedic Angel Yui, okay? So here's the 2006 Rakugo Tenyo Oyui, Nobuhiro Takamoto, Miwa Oshima on designs, Nao Tosawa, Juni Chikawa. All right, I'm just giving you all those details, right? Yui Tsukishima hopes to be a comedy entertainer when she grows up, although currently she has more pressing concerns, such as the fact that she and 5 other girls have been transported back in time to 19th century Japan to fight monsters. That's it. That's the art. I was like, I'm reading this, and I'm just like, that's it? Oh, geez, that's a short article, right? And then you scroll down, there's their whole article about comedy. And Comedy Angel Yui. Okay, what's this one? 2006, Rakugo Tenyu Oyui. That's the same Japanese title, aka Magical Travelers. Do they actually put like aka? No, they don't. They don't put aka Magical Travelers over here. TV Nobuhiro Takamoto. Script Yasui your. So they actually have someone credited for script on this one, unlike here. But the designs are Miwa Oshima, as well as Yutaka Miya and Takashi Miyano. Miwa Oshima is the same thing over here. Actually, no, they have a different person credited for animation, Nao Tosawa. Music by Juni Chikawa. And wait a minute. 25 minutes, 12 episodes. Yeah, 24 minutes. Well, that's not too different. Yui Tsukishima, same name, is one of 6 ordinary schoolgirls summoned into the Edo period by the power of magical jewels. Each has a different ability, which they must learn to use to protect people from evil forces threatening the city. Yui's is a skill with words, which inspire others to give them hope. Yui loves traditional Japanese comic storytelling Rakugo, but how will this help her and her friends to face dark supernatural powers? This action-adventure for young girls is one of the long line of Sailor Moon variations, very few of which have the power of the original, of course. Still, the artwork is sweet, if unremarkable, and Yoshinori Ueki's color design is fresh and pretty. Did I even put that as an opinion? Did I put that as one of their opinions? Comic? No, I don't think I did. I'm going to put that as, let me get back here to my notes. But you know what I mean? Like, I did that, I showed that only because I could, like, physically show you guys that there's 2 articles that are literally the same. It's duplicated, and what they each have completely different writing. It's from 2006, so I'm almost positive this is only exclusive to the 3rd edition. It's definitely not in the 1st, and I don't think it's from the 2nd, because the 2nd only goes up to 2005, if I'm correct, if I remember correctly. But let me put in Comedic Angel Yui. Let me. There we go. There we go. Okay. I'm just writing down. Doesn't hold a candle. Doesn't have the power of Sailor Moon, the original, quote unquote. Assuming they're even like the same show. Like, still, the artwork is sweet. If unremarkable. And the color design is fresh and pretty. Yeah, okay. Like, they're just going to assume it's like, I think they're just assuming it's Sailor Moon, you know what I mean? Whereas, like, Sailor Moon, they're like literally like fighting monsters and shit. Are they fighting monsters in this show? With Rakugo? Different ability was used to protect people from evil forces threatening the city. Okay. Sure. Which inspires others and give them hope. So does that mean that they have, like, powers like that? How will this help her and her friends to face dark supernatural powers? So it's sort of just like, oh, it's actually kind of weird how it does something different. I don't know. But, like, okay. And I'm looking at the Google, like, the, you know, the Google images of it, and it doesn't seem like a actiony in the same way as Sailor Moon, you know? I don't know. Whatever. Hazel! The West loved collecting photos from Japan when they were still isolated. It's one of the only ways to peer into the country. A thriving photo painting industry popped up because of this. Yeah, this show looks really interesting. I think Junichi Sato worked on it, like, specifically for the sound department? For, Croze? Or for, Company Angel Yui? He did, yeah. Oh, Croze. Yeah, Croze, Junichi Sato was the sound director and series composition. Yeah, so that's a, yeah. Yeah, that's a Shadow show. No wonder they why didn't they connect that to Arya? That's so strange. Oh well. Missed opportunity, I suppose. Hey, Greg. Hazel, I'm sorry, I read literally all the comments out loud. Sorry. Yeah, so that was weird. Yeah, two of the same article. Two of the same anime, different articles, completely written differently. Yeah, isn't it funny how one of them is just like completely dismissive? Like all they write here, it's like a draft. It's like they kept the draft in or something. Yui Tsukishima hopes to be a comedy entertainer when she grows up, although currently she has more pressing concerns, such as the fact that she and 5 other girls have been transported back in time to 19th century Japan to fight monsters. That's it. You know. Huh? Like, I don't know. It's interesting. No. Cross game, I've mentioned it. Cube Cursed Curious. No fewer than 20. This is just a repeat problem, and I just wanted to document it because Beelzebub does the same thing, where they're like, 29 credited animation directors, and it should be better looking than this, but it's just like Bleach. It just looks just adequate. Why? And it's like, is that how animation directors work? I don't know if anyone in the comments is able to explain this to me. I should know this maybe, but like, do you notice how it seems like it's a bad thing when there's more animation directors credited for an anime? When there's more, it doesn't look as good. Am I wrong? Like, it's because like when the Sakuga Bros kind of make the grimace face on like when Talk to OP, like the second episode has all these animation directors credited, and they're like, uh-oh, you know, they're like, so that's a bad thing, right? Whereas the Encyclopedia here, they're like, what? All these people are working on it. It should look amazing, right? Is that how this works? You know? No fewer than 29 credited animation directors and their assistants. This should be impressive, but it's around Bleach. I'll give the full quote. Oh, God. Oh. See you. C section so big. I also have the lettering kind of big on this, so it, like, of course you're gonna get a lot more pages, I guess. See you. QRF. Yeah. There we go. With no fewer than 29 credited animation directors and their assistants per episode or in total, and especially credited action director Yoshinari Saito, this should be impressive, but it's around the level of Bleach. Adequate, but not outstanding. The book series written by blah 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 blah. It's like, oh, okay. I don't know. There could be a lot of reasons for why it doesn't look great. But like, it's just funny how it's like, oh, more people would mean it looks better. Like, I guess that follows basic logic, but am I right? Like, isn't it sound like doesn't it come off as a bad thing when there's so many people working on it? It's like, oh, gotta get it together. I don't know. Maybe it's like a poor sign of a poor schedule, or I don't know. Anyway, that's pretty much it for my reading that I've got here. Everything else seemed pretty all right. Nothing too out of the ordinary. That covers the entire C section. So now ABC, totally up with the Encyclopedia, both versions. It's fun. It's certainly something. There are certainly some articles that I think kind of give me a lot of indigestion, kind of make me a little upsetty spaghetti, but a lot of them are fine. And again, I have this nice list that's growing. I love how this list is growing, and I hope it grows really big, like maybe over 100 titles or something. Now, let's see how many I have right now of titles that I'm now interested in because they talked about them. And oh yeah, well, I think Cotton Star was from previous stream. Never mind. But like in terms of series I'm now interested in because I read their article on the Encyclopedia. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 21, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 30, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 40, 1, 2, 3, 43 new anime titles that like I'd very much like to put on my plan to watch. I'd very much like to check them out. It's probably a lot of movies and short stuff too, because they checked it out. that's like a recurring thing with them, right? Seems good, you know, and I like that. I'm trying to be, you know, as even-handed and balanced with my expedition here, because what I present to you here is always kind of the weird stuff, and I talk the most about criticizing it, and I think it's because it's easier to do that. It's actually much harder to be like, I like how you wrote it like this. So like, it's a lot of the positive feedback is very je ne sais quoi, I suppose. You just have a good feeling about it, or it's passive and you're just kind of moving on to it, and nothing stands out in the same way. But the stuff that does stick out, like a sore thumb, is the bad stuff. So that's something I really want to try to emphasize as like, look, despite all the problems I could list out and like the, you know, and I am listing them out, literally. Like I'm writing everything, as many of these observations down as I can. And then we're finding some recurring themes that are mostly skewed kind of negative. But I hope when I do through more of these, I can find as many, or, you know, at least something where there could be some positive stuff to it. I do want to be as even as possible. Anyway, if you guys want me to read some, there are like 10 minutes left-ish. If there's a title from A through C or anywhere else really, if you guys are interested in me, what did they say about this title, sort of thing, or is this in the encyclopedia, stuff like that, let me know. I want a drink, perhaps. Perhaps. But, you know, I'll just check Twitter instead. That's adequate nutrition. Checking my notifications on Twitter. Oh, shit. Pog. Sorry, did they mention the Clanhead movie? No, they don't. I'm sorry. I'm upset too, because it's a Zaki title, of course, but I know you love that movie to bits, which I need to see too. I do need to watch it. It's funny, I used that movie footage for my Dazaki series, and then I didn't watch the movie. It was dumb. This is like a very rare time that I've done that. But yeah, I need to see it. I do want to watch. I do think I'll like it, as someone who, like, I think I'm very mixed on Clanad overall, but obviously I'm a Tazaki fan, so I think I'm gonna really like it. But no, they completely ignore it, and they have a really, their Clanad article is one of the weirdest and I reckon to say worst articles that they wrote. Like I think there's probably, like, apparently, like, in the wider consensus, this is like such a divisive and kind of front-facing, like, it's one of the, it's an actual, one of the very few articles that they actually talk about in the Ancast their appearance on Ancast, which I listened to, and what got me interested in this book at all, them talking about this book and promoting it. They actually talk about this particular, and how, like, kind of like, whoa, and the crazy off the rails. I think that they're saying how Helen went off the rails. Yeah, off the deep end. Lots of arguing on whether Helen went off the deep end with Clanad. Which, so like, okay, so I'm not just like crazy or anything, but yeah, like that article, I read the whole thing and kind of gushed about it in a previous VOD, if you've seen it. I watched the movie because of your series. Yeah. I'm very happy for that, though. I'm very happy that happened. Positive things happened, but yeah, no. Do they discuss movie 9? Yes. Only describing it. They don't give any opinion about it. They just looked at it as a synopsis and they're like, oh, the kids are bothering them at this amusement park for nostalgia, which is ironic because the parents will be adults who grew up on Shin-Chan by this point, which like I say it in that article too, but like they say that the demographic is 12 and under, and then 9 years since Shin-Chan started, the maximum age they would be is 21. You're saying that they would have kids at this point, like kids that are old enough at this point so they can actually resonate with this movie at that point? No, like it's a movie about nostalgia. You don't have to have kids to have watched it. It's actually a really powerful movie about your life and holding on to things that, like, why was the past used to be so much better, and like wanting to change things or having things stay the same and stuff, and like it's really emotionally gripping. And the main antagonists are based off of John Lennon and Yoko Ono. Or like they look like it. They very much look like they are. Great movie. Unbelievably good movie. Definitely watch that. And they didn't watch it. They didn't watch that movie, obviously. Did they discuss? Yeah, no. What about Boogie Pop Phantom? They have a changed opinion about Boogie Pop Phantom. And that's another one that I've talked about in the previous VOD in detail. But the first edition, they have Boogie Pop Phantom as kind of a mixed opinion, and they kind of don't get it. But then the third edition, they really get it, and they really are positive about it. They really like it. Let me read their original one. But you can check out the VOD for my comparison about it. Though based on earlier novels, it's very much a product of the 1990s anime scene, a deliberate attempt to reverse engineer the appeal of Serial Experiments Lane, but considering that at its basic level it is simply one more tale of a mystic warrior fighting cases of demonic possession in modern-day Tokyo, the look and feel are a welcome glimpse of originality in an already crowded genre. That's it. Which is kind of like a little hands-offy, because obviously they didn't watch it. They hadn't seen this show yet. But then they give a much better like synopsis and review of the whole thing, which I appreciated. Even though I was unfortunately a little more mid on Boogie Pop. I need to watch it again. I really do. I don't think I was in the right headspace at the time. I binged it. I know you binged it too, but you loved it. But like, I don't know. I need to watch it again. Yeah, the kind of movie bangs. I think you'd really like it. Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's also got a Cagliostro tier car chase. Wait, which one? What, Clanad movie? Oh, Shin-Chan. Yeah, Shin-Chan 9. Holy shit. Yeah, that has a great car chase. Unbelievably good movie. All around. Really technically impressive and like gorgeous and emotionally resonant, and oh my god, you're wrong. Yeah. Anyway. I'm sorry, I'm just saying like done it for all the examples here. But I agree. I just don't want to like bloat this and become a broken record and stuff. Definitely find the time. I've been trying my best to timestamp all of these. I think the last one or two haven't been timestamped yet, but you can. I think the one at least to Clanad has been, so you can probably find both of those in previous VODs. I'm sorry to go check the VOD, but yeah. Shin-Chan movie 9. You're right. Yeah. But yeah. What a good time. What a good time. A good time. What did I say about Cromartie? Alright, let's check out Cromartie. I don't think they give an opinion about Cromartie. That's okay. Crow. Okay. Oh, they say fucking something else. Oh, no, they do. They do put Cromartie. Okay. I thought it was Sakigake. No, right. They put Cromartie High here. Cromartie High has the dubious honor of teaching some of Japan's worst teen delinquents. Its students range from rebellious Hayashida, who sports a mauve mohawk, or Freddie, a look-alike for gay rock icon Freddie Mercury of Queen, to the downright strange, like the gorilla in high school uniform, who really is a gorilla, or robot boy Shinichi Mekazawa. He looks like an aerosol can with telescopic arms and claw hands, but everyone treats him like a normal student. The school is locked in gang warfare with rival Destrade High. Into this peculiar institution created by Eiji Nonaka for his manga in Weekly Shonen magazine comes tall, handsome Takashi Kamiyama. Nobody knows why an honor roll student would join the deadbeats of Cromartie High, but he has to be the toughest honor student around, so naturally surreal hijinks and wacky sight gags ensue in this parody of tough guy anime like Sakigake Otokojiku, whose Japanese title it echoes. Takashi is the one non-delinquent in a school full of them, a role reversal from which Cromartie High draws much of its comedy, compared to Alice Academy, which revisits a similar theme from a gentler magical girl perspective. In 2005, following the release of Cromartie High's spin-off live-action movie, the filmmakers were sued by former Yomiuri Giants baseball player Warren Cromartie for using his name without permission in a tale of delinquency. Nice little blurb at the end there. Yeah. We hit about the 2-hour mark. How about the Gogol 13 movie? Tempting. Gogol 13 is one of Japan's longest-running manga series, has been drawn by Takao Saito since 1969. Its unsmiling hero, Duke Togo, has never revealed anything about his past. Instead, he wanders the world and kills people for a living, a modern ronin with a codename constructed from purest evil. The unlucky number 13 and the first two syllables of Golgotha. An immense hit with middle-aged businessmen, Duke gets to travel the world, screw foreign chicks, and shoot unpleasant people. Although inspired by the James Bond films, he doesn't even pretend to be working for good. He is totally amoral. In the 1983 film, Duke is hired by a mystery client to kill the heir of a wealthy businessman. The businessman offers his sexual favors of his newly widowed daughter-in-law to a psychotic killer on the understanding that the son's death will be avenged. And so begins a series of tit-for-tat escalations, risible dialogue, embarrassing characterizations, and a ludicrous procession of gunfights as the two assassins kill and shag their way toward a final confrontation. Not a very flattering description, if you ask me, but okay. Director Dazaki treats Duke's quest as a modern samurai adventure, with improbable leaps and slices replaced by improbable marksmanship and setups. Watch the moment Duke shoots someone through a building. He also experimented with computer graphics in a helicopter assault scene, inserting now dated CG that makes it not unlike watching an old Atari console. That was nevertheless groundbreaking at the time. But Dazaki would retain his obsession with out-of-place CG, using it once again in his later Blackjack. Okay. Duke would return in a video sequel, Gogol 13 Queen Bee, in which Duke is assigned to kill Sonia, the titular South American nymphomaniac drug baroness, before she can carry out her own threat to murder a presidential campaign running on a Just Say No platform. One of the few Japanese comic characters to appear in a magazine that actually bears his name, Gogol remains a popular icon with a Japanese salaryman audience, like a comfortable pair of murderous slippers. It should hence come as little surprise that in straitened times, as producers fretted that the only real audience for anime was getting steadily older, he returned in a 50-part series on TV Tokyo, Gogol 13 2009. Unfortunately, the sheer length of the series seemed to only accentuate the predictable and unchanging nature of Gogol's story arcs. with an unstoppable, unkillable, unchangeable leading man who always wins. It offered little in the way of dramatic development and clung to Saito's art style in the fashion that makes this anime series look considerably more dated than it actually is. Before his lower budget anime outings, the assassin also appeared in 2 live-action incarnations. So, I mean, it's not great, especially the amount of, like, I hesitate to say disrespect, because it's not as disrespect as it is just really dismissal and not appealing to the franchise itself. I think they get the historical significance and how long-running Golgo is, but they don't seem to really give it the reverence and fair due that it, like, the appeal it might actually have, besides, like, oh, old people like it. Oh, it's for boomers. As if they themselves aren't boomers. I'm sorry. Trying not to be a dick. You know what I mean? Like, just because they don't like it, I guess. And I think that's a pretty big spoiler talking about the violation sequence. Yeah, I guess. More disdain than disrespect. Yeah, I suppose. And they really don't give the movie that much credit at all in terms of it being a Dazaki film. It's a great movie. It's just a great movie. And I liked that. I talked about this earlier. I may have read this article earlier. I've talked about Golgo in a previous stream, but like, I loved how I didn't like that Saito passed away this year. But one nice thing that came out of it was that it got people to really talk about Golgo again and to reaffirm their love for it. And it was showing that it's like, yeah, he always wins, but like, it's not about that. It's about learning the people he's killing, or the people that hire him. Who would be so deranged to hire an assassin like this? You know, and it actually explores a fair deal of stuff. You know, it's not it's not brainless in the way that I think that they're kind of framing it this almost. You know, it's too bad. But I'm not as like yeah. They kind of are more neutral about Dazaki in this instance, but they kind of just be like, dated CG. Dazaki would retain his obsession with out-of-place CG, using it once again in his later Blackjack. Not mentioning anything else about his style. You know, everything else that movie has in spades. It's a great movie and on a visual and directorial level, even if you aren't a fan of the subject matter or the things that happen in that movie, perhaps, which are very disturbing, of course, because that's the point. Anyway, yeah, a little overstream, a little over 2 hours. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Yeah, not a very eventful stream, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. Yeah, so this is gonna be the last stream of the year, because next weekend, I'm gonna be out with vacation, and then the weekend after that is literally Christmas. So I don't think I could stream during that time. And then the weekend after, it will be New Year's. It'll literally be New Year's Eve in a day. So it'll be like, maybe I do a stream January 1st. Maybe. Probably. I don't want to wait that long. That's like 3 weeks. Yeah. Probably January 1st, not January 8th. I'm not sure. Do the Blackjack OVAs ever even have CG? I don't remember. Maybe. I certainly don't remember it being like, whoa, the CG, you know? I don't remember that. Maybe in like the movie or something? Don't remember. Whatever. I'm sure they do, and they're like, no, I remember that. Okay. Anyway, I'll stop holding you guys' ear. Thank you guys so much for watching the whole series, as well as you guys visiting tonight. You guys have a good holiday season, and I hope to see you next year. Yo, peace. All right. Yo, peace. I'm gonna do this. There you go. Bye bye.